It made a Windows noise. I hope that means it was just live. I don't know why it does that. Like, it's just like, no, we're going to make a random ding noise. Anyways, welcome to the Broken Chatbox. You'll notice that there's not a game in the background. I'll talk about that in a minute because I am by myself today. Welcome to the New Year's special and everything like that. I'm just making sure on my second monitor that everything is working as it should. I don't know. It says that I'm live, so I'm going to assume that I'm live. This always goes terribly. I don't know why I don't know how to start a show properly. I'm even late. I'm super late today. Anyways, I had to set up this whole shebang. So, welcome to the New Year's special. Today, we are actually drawing in the background because I'm by myself, and one of my New Year's resolutions is actually to end up releasing a lot of the sketches that I end up doing. So, the story behind this one is that a few holidays back, my mother and sister were actually suggesting that I should end up making kind of fairies for each of my... Oh, there it goes. Okay, so I am live. All right. Apologies for that. That I should make fairies for every holiday because I was drawing a lot of fairies at the time. And so we're kind of following through with that. So I'm just going to be drawing in the background while we do our normal podcasty stuff. So hopefully this works out well. I'm not going to finish this illustration while we are kind of streaming and stuff like that. I'm also extremely tired, so chances are I'm not going to do particularly well either. So we're gonna see how this goes. So right now I'm building or drawing a New Year's fairy, I guess. So the idea is that she is rising up into the sky. There'd be clouds in the background and shit like that, and then she is lifting you up. I'm not gonna finish it today in the stream, but that kind of gives you an idea of where I'm headed. So there you go. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also made a new kind of audio setup and everything like that. So if audio sounds super screwy, make sure to let me know because I am currently listening to music in the background on my own thing, but it shouldn't show up on the stream. I'm using a new voice meter and everything like that to kind of make sure that everyone is hearing what I want them to hear and not everything. So that comes with some new audio effects as well onto my microphone. I have some new compression, stuff like that, which I have currently turned off because I don't know how well it works. So, yeah. So anyways, that's kind of what's going on. There's also not a lot of gaming news, and so I was hoping to kind of, I don't know, kind of circumvent that by doing a sketch in the background and kind of talking about art a little bit because I'm still not sure what kind of hairstyle I'm going to give this chick. Because, art is a big thing that I've been doing. But we can go ahead and talk about the kind of end-of-year stuff. Kind of like, oh, hey, this is what's going on this year. I don't know. I did my top 5 favorite games this year, and you should end up checking out that video because I spent a lot of time on it. But, for the most part, we can end up going over that type of stuff in this podcast. Nobody's joining me, so it's going to be very, very boring. I apologize for that. I don't really have much to say. I'm also extremely tired today. I don't know what type of hairstyle I want to give this character because I'm like, what feels like a New Year's resolution thing? I might go crazy. Like, I might just make it so that she has, like, super spiky hair that goes, rah, like, crazy status. But I kind of want it to be, like, a fun-loving character. Like, it could go Goku hair status and be like, rah, and then there's her eyes and she's, like, angry or something like that. I don't know. And Super Saiyan. It is orange. I use orange as normally my cover color when I'm kind of like sketching out to the side. That way it doesn't mix up. You can see my loose guidelines are blue, and then I go over with a black outline sort of thing, and then I end up doing my actual painting. I probably do more steps than most people do. It's not exactly something that I need to do, but it is something that I do regardless. Gonna fix my streaming stuff over here. So anyways, I actually played some games this week. So I played Ori and the Blind Forest, finally, which I'm absolutely loving that one. And then I also played a game called The Next Penelope, so I can talk about that a little bit later. And then also in the gaming news, I don't really know exactly what's going on, but I do know a few things that I am excited for in the new year, which is going to be quite some interesting topic stuff. I know that there's some tech hardware coming out and stuff like that. There's some AMD rumors and things like that. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily talk about those because I don't really like covering rumors. And to be quite frank, we don't really know much details on it, but I can end up talking about that a little bit later. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, make sure to stay tuned. Or if you just want to see me draw absolutely terribly today, I don't know what it is today, but I just cannot draw. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I want to do a long hairstyle. Like I might have the kind of wing style hairstyle go down, kind of like a punk rocker, and then I'm having maybe a different color here. Like we could go to like, oh yeah, I have a color overlay. That's why this is like that. So I can end up doing like a red or something like that and make her kind of look like a new punky style. So I might go from this kind of cutesy face into a more hardcore kind of edgy corners face, so I can end up kind of going stricken on here and then go downward more like that, and then it would end up giving more of a kind of still sort of cutesy feminine young look, but at the same time it would kind of make it look a little bit more strict in the way that the jawbone is done. I could probably end up flattening this out as well to kind of give it more of a point to the bottom and everything like that. I'm not supposed to be coloring in that layer. I don't care. I'm not very professional when I end up going about my illustrations. I kind of like work as I go. I'm just kind of like, I want to draw this, and then I end up drawing it. I don't even have like clothing designed for her. I just kind of like have a general pose. The idea was that she's lifting you up into space because it's the new year, so it's all rising up into new hopes. And that was the concept. That's as far as I got. I really didn't think I was going to follow through with like streaming while drawing and everything like that. It is actually kind of hard for me to stream and draw because I don't use a lot of references. And so when I end up drawing, I do a lot of like kind of stuff that I'm like, I don't know what I'm drawing exactly. So I don't know. I'm going to give her some nice poofy kind of pontlet things going on here. So she has like some pillow stuff going on, and then she'll have, oops, that's the wrong key. And then whenever she, shows that she's going backwards, then it will be, I don't know. I really don't know. This is how most of my sketches go. I just kind of like sketch around and don't really know much about it. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about some games. So let's go ahead and talk about Ori and the Blind Forest, which is a game I literally played today for the very first time. And I played it quite a lot, actually. Quite a few hours put into it, and I'm like kind of enjoying it a lot. I kind of wish that I would have played it earlier, because then it would easily be on my kind of top 5 games of the year, which if you haven't checked out my video for the top 5 games of 2016, you should probably end up checking those out, because I spent a lot of time making that video and it is actually pretty good. So yeah, I made sure that it was one of those videos. Like, I know that a lot of the kind of year-end videos all end up kind of mashing together, and they're not very, very interesting because everyone's like, I like the same 5 games that everyone else did. And then like, you kind of run into this situation where everyone literally has the same. She's not at a slant. Yeah, she would be at a slant because her elbow would be back, which means I made this gauntlet too big. Okay, that's fine. It's not a gauntlet. It's a pauldron. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. So she would have kind of a pauldron sort of that way. And then we'll go ahead and have these leash up. Let's give her some straps that would end up going over and between. I know I'm getting a little suggestive here. That's kind of how it goes. So yeah, I ended up playing Ori and the Blind Forest, which ended up being an incredible game right up from the gate. Like, it has a very interesting story that I didn't expect from that sort of game. So for people who don't know what it is a Metrovania style sort of platformer, I guess, is what you would call it. Like, it doesn't really have a lot of combat or anything like that. It's a mostly just kind of, you jump around and you end up spending more time dodging enemies than you actually do fighting them. Although there is combat. There are tons of enemies in the game that always want to kill you. And so that's kind of what it is. I don't think I like these pauldrons. I think I'm going to go with straight up shoulders on this one. Let's go ahead and get rid of these. Sorry, I'm going to be kind of pausing here and there because I haven't actually tried doing one of these art streams before. And so we'll see how well this goes. And then kind of give myself a new circle there because her head is a little bit taller than I was going to originally make it. As you can kind of see, I'm going towards that different type of look up there. So yeah, there we go. And then this arm, I think I'm going to have it so that it ends up going over onto her knee. So that's what this is. This is her hand. And then I'll have something on her knees. I don't know. I think I'm going to give her stockings. So that'll be what that goes about. So the stockings go about here. And to make it a little bit more interesting, I'll have the other one be a little bit lower because I like to mix it up. I was originally going to have her kicking her foot out as well. And I kind of just got rid of that idea because we already have the hand reaching out, and it would be kind of weird to have somebody sticking their hand out and sticking their foot out as well. It would just be kind of strange. So we'll go ahead and give the tips. I'm just kind of like doing a loose drawing so that I can be like, this is where the hands go, and then that sort of thing. So this is going to be at a curve here and then a nice little curve there. If you're interested in drawing, I guess this might be interesting to you, but for most people, it's probably not. But yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest is one of those things where it's like, I wish I would have played this game earlier because it would have literally been on my top 5 games of the year easily within seconds of me playing it. And so it is actually pretty incredible. It is probably one of the best platformers I've ever played. The last time I played a platformer and I thought to myself, like, this is incredibly awesome, it was, I think I would have to say probably Rayman Origins, which is a game I played with my sister quite a while back. And, like, that game was incredibly fun. And it was very, very polished in the way that it was kind of presented and everything like that. And I'm like, all right, you know what? This is what platformers should be. Like, that's what AAA platformers should end up being from this point on. And Ori and the Blind Forest is the only game I've seen since then that has actually even lived up to that sort of expectation. So that was actually kind of pleasing to play. It's very touching in the very beginning as well. Like, it instantly makes you attached to these sort of characters that you want to see. And it does a really, really good job of storytelling without using too many words. There are words and there is like a voice actor thing and everything like that, but they end up making it so that they don't speak English. It's all about the sort of, I don't know what to say, like just kind of like words, really. It's just there to make sound and make it sound like they're speaking, which, I mean, that's kind of the point of everything. I accidentally rotated my canvas a little bit. There we go. Sorry, I'm terrible at this. I probably shouldn't have tried drawing on stream. We might just switch to a game in a minute or something like that. But I kind of want to get this loose sort of drawing done regardless, because this is a drawing that I actually want to finish at some point, I think. Eventually, probably. I won't be finishing it here, but I will finish it eventually. That's one of actually my New Year resolutions, is actually to end up finishing my sketches more so than anything like that. I kind of want to get to a point to where I'm just releasing a sketch every day because I enjoy sketching a lot. I've been spending an hour at least every day kind of sketching around with stuff, and I've been enjoying it a lot. But the problem is that I have this habit of I just kind of throw out everything that I draw. And so I end up with the situation to where I spend an hour drawing and then nothing comes of it. And it's like, you know what? That's fine. Because I don't think it's like, I don't need to release all my sketches. It's not going to be something that I'm like, yeah, this sketch is awesome and stuff like that. Most of my sketches suck. Most of them are along the lines of, this isn't very interesting. This is just a concept for like some floor design stuff. Or maybe it's just like a box. Quite frankly, I draw a lot of boxes and things like that. I think I'm going to go with that long style hair. Except if she was this way, then it would be kind of pointed downwards. So it'd fall about here. And then you'd have this sort of weird curve thing going on that would go into her bangs. And then it would have some depth. We'll do that in the shading and stuff like that. So you'd have these sort of long peels that would go downward. And we'll do that. And then this stuff would just kind of look like it's a little bit spurky because it's aiming downward. And then we can end up doing some spike lines to kind of indicate that they are hanging downwards. I'm really terrible when it comes to anime in perspective because I always try and do it like too realistically. And a lot of animes, like let's say you had your person just looking downwards. Like let's say you had a person that was just looking directly down and you had their eyes here. They would just draw the hair like, oh yeah, it's here. You know, when realistically, you know, you have your eyes there and then your hair would actually just kind of fall in front of you. So, yeah, I don't know. I look at it. That almost turned out to be a fox. There we go. I made a fox. Give him little ears. This is what I do when I draw. It's ridiculous. I just kind of like sketch whatever I want, and I'm like, that looks like something. I'll draw it and I'll finish it, and that's kind of the round that I end up going. It's not the best approach. I know that, but it is an approach I take regardless. So that's a thing. Also, I need to give her ears as well. I can't figure out if I want to make pointy ears because I could make ears that point, or I could end up making round ears. I don't know. I think fairies have more pointy ears generally more than not. I can do a sort of curve upwards and then have a ring thing, kind of like I guess an elf. I don't really know. Ori and the Blind Forest, though, going back on topic, I'm absolutely terrible at drawing and doing this at the same time. I apologize for that. We'll go ahead and do pointy ears. We'll have her just have like elfy ears. So really long elfy ears with a nice little point at the bottom. Kind of looks like a little devil wing, maybe like a succubus. I'll just go ahead and hold shift here to get the eyes right. I do cheat sometimes. People will call them cheats. Quite frankly, they are tools and they should be used, such as being able to tell exactly where something is. I know a lot of people also like to draw from references. I actually don't draw from references a lot. There's a lot of cases to where I look at things and I'm like, you know what, I can just draw that whenever. And so a lot of my kind of original drawings end up coming from that sort of mindset. to where I don't really use a lot of references. I know like when people are drawing dogs and stuff like that, they'll look up like a dog or something like that. I'll just draw it freehand from my head. That's kind of how I do it. I used to do a lot of sketching during like speeches and things like that, especially in college, to where I was just like, I don't care what this guy has to say, so I'm going to sit here and sketch. Kind of backfires though, because when you're sketching, you remember those drawings and then you remember that speech because you were drawing it during that speech, and then that kind of ruins the entire point of the process. But hey, you know, I got some praise from it from some of my instructors because they're like, hey, your drawing, that's actually good for your memory and shit. And I'm like, cool, I'm trying to forget this. That's, yeah, but I didn't say that because then they would be disappointed in me and be like, oh, well, you should listen to the speech more, and then I couldn't draw anymore, and that would be lame. Also, I'm accidentally zooming in and out because I'm in the weirdest position right now. I am like a spider across my entire desk. It is kind of ridiculous. I don't have a very large desk, and so when you end up kind of adding in this situation to where I have a drawing tablet, I have my microphone, which I had to completely switch my microphone setup for this specific stream, by the way, and future streams. I do want to do more of these art stream stuff. And then I also have my laptop over to the side, which is my second monitor, basically. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm just sprawled out across my entire desk, and my back is bent sideways, which is not very comfortable. I should probably move my chair. There we go. Now it's more comfortable. So yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest, I'm enjoying it a lot. If you like Metrovania games that are actually fairly difficult, you know, it is a platformer, which is challenging as a balls, I am noticing. It has a lot of platforming bits that are just not like difficult as in like, oh man, this is just hard because everything jumps at you at once. It's actually very extremely well designed. And so you have like these different types of puzzles that require you to use different enemies, require you to use different abilities, and the game gives you a surprising amount of abilities. And one problem is with a lot of platformers, especially things in the Metrovania genre, is that they end up adding in too many abilities too early on that kind of make it so that the effects that they have kind of make everything else sort of pointless. And so you run into a situation to where, I don't know, like let's say a double jump, right? You know, you get double jump in Mario and basically the entire game is too easy. But in this game, in Ori and the Blind Forest, you run into, you know, double jump fairly early on. I think it was like 2 hours into the game, which I don't actually know how long it is. So that could end up being like almost the end of the game for all I know. But I get double jump and you'd think, oh yeah, this is going to be, you know, just make half of the platforming pretty much easy, which if you go back to the first area, sure, you could argue that it makes the beginner stuff too early. But what I ended up finding is that no, they actually designed it very extremely well to where it was actually more difficult to do the double jumping platforming bits because they ended up adding more mechanics, making it more difficult and more interesting. And they ended up adding situations to where it's like, you have to use this double jump perfectly or else you're going to die in an instant kill bush. It also has a really interesting saving system as well, to where when you try to save, it actually uses a currency slash sort of resource in the game. And this resource is actually like the spirit energy stuff or whatever. I don't know, it's story bollocks that I'm not going to worry about at the moment. But it ended up using that kind of currency that you have. But that currency is actually used for all your abilities as well. So you end up having to go into a situation where it's like, I could use these abilities more, but then I might not be able to save for this platforming bit that's coming up, and it might kick my butt and kind of, you know, make it so I can't even progress anymore. So yeah, it has a really interesting save system. So you're able to save wherever you want. It's just that, you know, you actually have to have the resource for it, which is an interesting way to approach it. I actually thought about that when I was working on one of my other game projects. I was thinking, you know, what if the player decided exactly where they saved? And I kind of saw it as one of those things that would end up becoming a noob trap pretty early on. You know, you would run into a situation where players just don't know where to save. You know, they're like, oh, well, if I save here, it looks like there's a boss here. And then they end up saving at the boss, but then they can't get back because of some platforming bit and stuff like that, because I'm doing asshole design when I'm doing that type of stuff. Because of course I am. That's how I roll. But they ended up doing it really, really well. It's designed in a way that you can't actually use it in an unsafe area, so you can't really screw yourself over. They also make it so that basically, if you're in an area to where, you know, there is a boss or something like that, it'll automatically save for you anyway, so you don't have to worry about constantly saving because of bosses. So yeah, it's just overall, the entire game is designed so well. There's been a few problems where they end up adding in things in the foreground and in the background that end up kind of getting in the visual way. Yes, I gave her bosoms that you can deal with it. And basically, it's just really, really well designed. But there's some cases to where things just kind of get in the way because it's like visually cool. It's like, hey, look, this tree goes into the foreground and the background at the same time. Isn't that nifty? No, it's not, because when you go in front of it or behind it, you can't actually see when enemies are attacking, which ends up screwing you over massively. So that's a sucky ordeal. So yeah, I'm not even using my extra layer. Like, I have this extra layer and I've just been using the normal layer. You know, I set up layers because I'm like, oh, it'll make it easier to see things. I'll just make everything color-coded so people know exactly what I'm doing. Just, no. Quite frankly. Normally what I have is I have like 4 different layers depending on the foreground, background, middle ground sort of thing. And I'll have each ground kind of be a different color. Blue is generally my background color and my sketching color. And so I'll sketch mostly just the background and the stuff that goes in front of it a little bit blue. And then the background would be a lighter blue than the rest of it. Or, sorry, a darker blue than the rest of it. And then I guess I do like purple and stuff like that for the foreground because it stands out. And then I do red for the middle ground. So right now I'm trying to figure out what type of wings I want. I just ruined my fox. Let's move that. Let's move that up here. Trying to figure out what type of wings I want to give her because she is a fairy, but I also kind of want her to be a little bit, I don't know. I like to do like a little bit demonic type of stuff. So I can end up doing this and have her have a little tiny leaf here. And then, so it looks like a leaf, but at the same time it looks like flames because the new year reminds me of a phoenix. There's my mindset there. Probably. I don't know. But I might end up doing something like that. So it kind of looks like feathers a little bit at the bottom, maybe. You know, maybe have it little shred off at the bottom. Not really sure. This is how I concept everything. So you can see I just kind of like did. So if I remove these layers, you can just see I did this very loose sketch. What the hell was that about? Okay. Thanks, Photoshop. I have touch controls on. And sometimes, so right now I'm using like 2 fingers to kind of scroll and stuff like that. Sometimes it gets stuck. And so it'll like randomly scroll me across the screen and stuff like that. I need to figure out what's causing that because it's not supposed to do that. I didn't do that in Windows 7. It has something to do with this new kind of Zen thing to where I can be like this. This is really cool too. I can bring up like sketch notes and stuff like that and then draw on them. So I can be like sketch, which is super cool. I don't know. Go away. Go away. Yeah, delete. Go away. There's also this other thing to where I can actually screen grab. So let's say if I go over to, yeah, you get to see some background noise stuff. So if you see my music stuff right here, or let's say my voice meter, I can go into my drawing stuff, grab a sketch of it, and draw on it. Whoa, that's the highlighter. That is an ugly color. Can we get a like pretty color? There we go, pink. That'll work. So I can be like doing tutorial stuff while I'm live streaming or something like that and be like, this is voice meter. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm playing around with it for a video that I'm working on, but I probably won't end up using it because it's kind of a pain to use. Gotta be quite honest. I'll probably end up just doing some Photoshop work and doing some magic with that. So that's probably what I'll end up doing. Okay, so I'd say that's good for kind of an outline. Her boobs are messed up. I'm terrible when it comes to breasts when they're pressed up against something. I'm really good when they're just floating freehand, though, I gotta say. There's reasons for that. Let's give her some knee stockings as well. Let's like make her have, oh, whoa, what the hell? My touch sensitivity went away. There we go. Sometimes that happens as well. Like Photoshop has some really weird issues when it comes to Wacom tablets. Sometimes it'll be like you're drawing and it's perfectly fine. And then other times it's just like, yeah, screw you. We're not going to work for you today. I remember yesterday I was having problems where I was trying to make a custom brush and my touch sensitivity, my touch sensitivity wasn't working. My sensitivity on the drawing tablet itself wasn't actually being registered as being the way it should have been. It was super sensitive and it was always kind of going into max and everything like that. And like I could not end up drawing whatsoever. And I just basically had to kind of shut down my system and restart it to fix that. I'm trying to like think if I should give her, because she would be about right here, so I could probably make a skirt sort of frizzle out back here. So I was thinking like giving her one of these sort of, just find an empty spot here somewhere, giving her one of those situations to where it's like a skirt, So you got the skirt, and then they also have like shorts underneath it because that's appropriate. So we'll do that, I think. And then there's the body or whatever, belly button. All right. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest, if you haven't played it, it is a beautiful fucking game as well. Like, it is super gorgeous. This is actually one of the reasons why I wanted to draw today so much, is because I was like, this game is beautiful. I would love to just sit here and sketch all day based off of that game alone. It is quite wonderful. So she would actually be kind of revving up the skirt on that end, which means it would kind of go a little bit like this, and then it would actually curve around her back leg. See, I'm trying to get too realistic with it. Like, realistically, if I was just drawing this, you know, without kind of just concepting around and stuff like that, I would probably just end up doing not even a skirt and just saying screw it. That's probably what I would end up doing. Trying to think, what else would I do? Have her a choker, I guess. I think I'm going to color code it next, because this line doesn't need to be here. So I don't know if that's even clear, but basically it goes up to her neck and then goes around her neck. And that's the whole idea of that outfit. You know what? Fuck it. Let's start painting it. I'd normally do a little bit more, but I'm just kind of like, I don't really care. I just want to finish something today. May as well. The other game I ended up playing was, well, I played through more Mega Dimension Neptunia. I can talk about that for a minute, because that is in my top 5 games of the year. You should end up checking out that video. It is quite good. What color do I want? Should I just go monochrome for this? Nah, I'm going to do color. Let's do color. So I'm going to end up doing a baseline color. I'm going to put this under my lines just so I can kind of screw around with it. Hit caps lock, so it ended up doing that. Nope, that was the wrong one. I want to turn off opacity. It's still... God damn it, Photoshop. Turn off transfer. There we go. Now it should be a solid color. So I'm just going to like kind of real quickly go over where I want my colors. So I think I'm going to go purple and blue. Maybe. Purple and blue will probably work. So we'll have those as black, so we'll go with more of a muted gray there. So, trying to think of exactly what I want to do, because her stocking things would end up being black. Pretty sure. Normally they're black. I don't know women's clothing, so I don't know why I'm trying to justify my wording here. But regardless, I could do purple and red. Red is striking. Red is a striking color. Let's go ahead and do red. So her skirt will be a nice lavender type color. And then we'll do a brighter red for her actual clothing. And then do whatever. I don't really know. And I guess we'll have her have sleeves. Or not sleeves, sorry. She'll be in short sleeves. And then her belt, we'll go back to that lavender color actually. So we'll go back, do that. It didn't... What is up with this? It's not like... Okay, so if I go here... Oh, no, I know what I did. Never mind. Ignore me, I'm being stupid. Anyway, so the other game I played was the next Penelope, which is a game I saw originally in early access, actually. It was a game that I was like, this game looks interesting. I'd totally check it out if it wasn't in early access. So it's out of early access now. It has been for a while. I ended up picking it up randomly. And I was like, you know what, I'll try it out. It's a top-down sort of racer slash kind of shooter game and everything like that. Oh, it's going to show my music stuff there. That's going to be annoying, because I hope you guys can't hear that, because I don't want to get a copyright strike for that. But I did want to listen to music while I draw, because it is very inspiring. So, apologies for the notifications. Just ignore that for now. I can't really do much about it. Should I have her have gloves? Let's have her have gloves. Add more color to her. We'll have her have... no. I think I'm going to ignore gloves for now. Yeah, I think I'll leave her without gloves. She'll have blue eyes, because blue eyes are superior. That's my justification for that one. So I have her blue eyes, white dragon, and I guess we'll make her stockings black as well. There we go. That's my colors. We can have her stockings, or not stockings, wow. Her socks be red maybe? Or like have it have a red tip, or maybe it'll just continue down. I guess that's how it would actually look. So we'll do that. So yeah, the next Penelope is a top-down sort of I guess, racer slash action game. So it is basically you are a spaceship and you are flying through areas in a top-down fashion. If anybody played Micro Machines, I know everyone likes to talk about Micro Machines in that sort of genre, then you will also kind of know what I'm talking about. It is actually pretty good. It's not perfect. It feels a little bit unpolished in a lot of ways. It feels like it's still sort of in early access. Like the announcer is not exactly the kind of announcer that I would expect. It feels unfinished in certain ways. The menus feel a little bit kind of bad, I guess you would say. I'm actually going to do the eyelashes first. That sounds like a good idea. I'm not 100% a sort of like go ahead and just draw things sort of thing. I like to have a lot of planning. And so when I go about this, I'm kind of doing this a lot differently than I normally would, I would say. I need to go with a smaller brush. There we go. And then we'll kind of brush in. I am going pretty close into here. Normally I wouldn't go this close. I would normally be about right here. But I just felt like it would be more interesting. So we'll go ahead and do this. I'm just going to end up finishing this on stream. Fuck it. I mean, we've got another 30 minutes left or something like that. So I can end up doing it. So we'll go ahead and do her bottom lash and have her curve over here. So yeah, it feels a little unfinished, the next Penelope. It's one of those games to where you play it and you're like, this is really, really fun. What are they going to do next? Sort of thing. And then that next never really comes. And so you're kind of like left sitting there with sort of more expectation than pleasure, I guess, in a sense. Which is a bit disappointing because it is a game that I looked at originally and I'm like, I totally want to play this. And I was really excited for it to come out of early access, and I never actually heard that it came out of early access. It's like, oh, whoa, it's out of early access? That's cool. And so, that's why I ended up picking it up for this whole holiday sale, by the way. Steam has a big sale going on right now, so if you're into PC games, it is the time to buy games. Ori and the Blind Forest, which is a game I totally recommend at least checking out, is only $5 or $10. I think it's $10. The next Penelope was $5. I can't remember. I spent money on 2 games, and I can't even remember the price of them. That's how it goes sometimes. You buy games on Steam, and then you're like, I bought this. I have Transistor in my library, which is from the developers of Bastion, The Last Bastion or whatever. And no, it is just Bastion. I don't know why I keep saying last. I'm adding last to everything. I was doing that last stream too as well for some reason. Yeah, so basically, Ori and the Blind Forest is $10. And then, I have Transistor in my library. Sorry, I'm like thinking stuff. I'm terrible at this. I might never try to do this again. Hopefully this is entertaining to watch me draw. I mean, like, I don't draw in front of people very often. And so that's probably why I'm so bad at this. That is not equal. And whatever, fuck it. I don't care. Most anime artists are not good with proportions anyways. So, did I just throw out some flares there? I'm sorry, guys. No, they're fine. There's a lot of amazing artists out there, and I'm not going to sit here and try to say I'm like some incredible artist or anything like that. I can say without a doubt that I'm probably better than most people. But at the same time, I'm not going to be exactly amazing or anything like that. That looks good. Yeah, I need to add that line there. I mean, I'm just going to be doing it pretty painterly. So, that's fine. We're not going to get too in-depth here. She's not going to have eyebrows because her eyebrows are going to be covered up. Actually, she would probably have more eyebrows here. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get the hair done. I'm going to do this. So this is the part where I end up doing a bunch of layers. I need to sort this better. Let's go ahead and make a new group. Take these layers and put them into that group. So these are my finishing layers. Yeah, so I just made that layer for color, and then I made this layer for lines. So one thing that I really like to do is I love line art. And so when I end up drawing, I always try and do a lot of line art type stuff. And so, yeah, I know I kind of annoy some people with it because a lot of people are like, just paint around it, just do whatever. And like, I do that sometimes. Like, I can just do a real quick, let's just draw a box real quick. So if I end up doing a square, I can kind of be like, oh, well, I can just be like, yeah, it's going to be shady here, and then it's going to be really dark here, and it has this sort of shadow and everything like that, and kind of make a box out of those shadows. But at the same time, you know, when I end up doing that, I kind of like think, oh, well, what if I ended up just drawing a freaking box and then fill in the lines like I was taught when I was in preschool? That is the worst box I've ever drawn in my life. Jesus Christ. But regardless, you see what I'm saying, right? Like, I don't know. Nobody's going to reply to me. Nobody's active in the chat right now. I feel so alone. It is New Year's Eve. Actually, it's New Year's for some people. I mean, it depends where you're at. But yeah. And now I'm just drawing on this box. See how easily I can get sidetracked when I'm sketching? I love to draw. Drawing is easily one of my most favorite things to ever do, ever. And so when I end up getting drawing, I just 100% zone out. And so, yeah. And I feel like I started this box, so I'm like, I need to finish this box. That's just how it goes. It's got to finish the box. My monitor is going crazy because I don't have my speakers aligned properly, and so the screen is wobbling. Sorry, I'm fixing that real quick. There's so many problems I'm realizing with this whole format that I have going on here with this setup, because I'm like, I need to do this and this and this, and then while I'm doing other things, I realize, oh, this isn't in the right spot, which means this is happening instead, and yeah. So, not particularly great at this. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Transistor. That's a game I need to try. So, I'll be trying that out. Probably this week. I don't really know for sure. I'm trying to finish a review. I ended up working a lot on my top 5 games of 2016 video, which, once again, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I know I probably sound like a stupid shill at this point, but I really did spend a lot of time on that video. I spent so much time just kind of scripting out, thinking of what I was going to do. Just even thinking of the games to put on that list was pretty damn difficult, because, you know, when you're just going through kind of playing games, you're not really thinking about like, oh, this is my favorite game ever. You know, there's some that you're like, yeah, I kind of like this game. This game is kind of fun. And then, you know, there's one games where you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I'd play this forever. And then 2 weeks later, you just end up never coming back to it. And so you kind of go into the situation to where when you go into those videos, you remember some games better than others. And some games you're like, did I actually enjoy this one at all? Like, I remember I was thinking of putting The Witcher 3 on that list because I played it for the first time this year. And, yeah, I liked it, but I never came back to it, which made me wonder. I'm kind of making it so it looks like it's got a little divot on here. See, I love shading, too. Like, shading is one of my favorite things. So if I wanted to do, like, a sphere or something like that, spheres are fun because you get to do this little magic trick. I should add a texture to my brush and just screw around with textures on brushes. I wonder if people like that. I don't know. I don't know what people like. I'm just drawing because I'm having fun. But yeah, like, I was thinking of putting The Witcher 3 on there, and I actually realized kind of a problem with The Witcher 3 is that I have a problem with pretty much all open world games, to where there's not anything keeping me going, in a sense. I'm just kind of sitting there like, yeah, this is an open world. There's a lot to do and, like, stuff. And then I'm like, am I actually going to play through it all? No, not even close. I'm probably going to stop playing it, like, after 4 hours like I did with The Witcher. Know it's an amazing game, want to come back to it, but never do. And I have to think to myself, like, did I actually enjoy it as much as I think I did? And so that ended up being why Witcher 3 wasn't on the list, because I thought to myself, maybe it wasn't as good as I thought it was, or like it wasn't really my favorite game. Like it wasn't a game to where I was like, this is something that really stood out to me. Like, yes, it was a good game and everything like that, and yes, it is an incredible experience, but at the same time, I had to think to myself, like, was it my favorite this year? Is it the game that I played to where I'm like, this is incredible and I want to play more of it? Is it something that drove me to actually go out of my way to play video games? Which is what every single game on my list ended up being. Was a game that it stretched either beyond my expectation and ended up being a game that I ended up playing a ton, or it's a game to where I maybe didn't play it a lot, but at the same time, it was a game that I will like remember forever, which, you know, is pretty hard to accomplish. Like The Witcher 3, I could see myself in 4 years just completely forgetting about the game and never coming back to it. But games that are on that list, like, it'd be pretty hard pressed for me to forget about those. I'm going to have this a little bit higher because I'm very proud of my little eyelashes that I did there. They're very pretty. I like them. So I'm going to do the hair here. And then it's going to have a little bit of a spirk. And it's going to have a wide spirk. And then we'll do another spirk here. I need to get rid of that one. There we go. So I can kind of gauge where I want this. So we'll have it come from the back. Have a nice arc here. And another arc here. Kind of give it a three-dimensional thing going on. So you can tell it's from the back. So you can see it's like kind of curving inwards. And then, god damn it, I curved the image again. Sorry, it's tilting because that's the touch controls. I really should just turn those off. I probably could, but I'm not going to, because I kind of like being able to just scoot it over a little bit, and I also like well, when it allows me to do it, I like being able to do this, and I can kind of step backwards and stuff like that without using my keyboard, which is on to my left side. What else can I talk about? New stuff. I'm still sideways, aren't I? Yes, I am. Very sideways. That's the thing that's annoying, because I'm like, these eyes don't look the way they used to. That's interesting. And then, you know, you end up doing that. You back up a bit, and then you're like, oh, hey, it's not how it's supposed to be. Where's my line? There's my line. So I'm going to use that as my facial line as well. Have the hair on its own layer. I normally end up doing that because hair is one of those things to where when I'm drawing, I kind of think of stuff to where I'm like, maybe I don't want the hair looking like this. And so I change the hair all the time. I remember one of my very early drawings, which I think I can actually open it up. Let's go ahead and in here. That's my old stuff. It's going to be in my archive work. One of my old things. Where did I keep it? It's in my old archives, huh? I ended up going through my archive stuff. I've lost a lot of illustrations. This one. Yeah, this one. I ended up going through like 6 different hairs, and I went with this one that my friend called a dyke haircut. So maybe I'm terrible with hairstyles, but yeah, this is one I did. I did this right after I came out of high school, which was pretty good for when I came out of high school, because this was the original drawing. Oh, it's going to ask me to do photo viewer? No, just open it in photos. Yeah, this was the original sketch for that one. I have no idea what the direction of this podcast is. I'm just kind of testing out the format for my drawing streams, really, to be honest, because god damn it, the sensitivity fucked up again. Come on, fix itself. There it goes. Yeah, I guess whenever I alt tab out, it's gonna like screw up my my capture, not really capture, my sensitivity. I don't know if I like the bang going over. I think I'm gonna have her bangs a little bit shorter. This is why I have the back key. Yay! So we'll have those be a little bit shorter. I probably should have increased my backing stuff. This is the positive of being able to kind of have things on different layers. You can just go like, yeah, I don't want you, but I also want the thing under you. So I'm going to have it be a little bit of a perk here, kind of aimed downwards, so it looks like it's sort of eyeing down, kind of like a bang. At least my bangs do that. If your bangs don't do that, you are a lucky son of a beach, because my bangs are crazy. They love to go everywhere. So yeah, other things I can talk about. try and be topical. I really don't know what's going on in gaming right now. I think that it's mostly just kind of like end year stuff. A lot of people are doing their whole, this is what I like this year, and most of it's boring. My end of the year stuff ended up being really great, and I finished the video getting actually excited to check out everyone else's, because I generally liked seeing what people liked every year, because, you know, not only is it informative, but it's like good for like recommendations and stuff like that. It's like, what game should I check out next year? Because I don't look at, this is almost looking like Amy Rose's hairstyle. I'm just thinking about, I think that's where my mind is kind of going with this hairstyle, because it's pink. That would make sense. We'll go ahead and have it spurk out here like a nice little hairstyle would. There we go. So it's going to be like a bob cut. All right, we need to fix this side a little. Actually, no, that looks pretty good, actually. If I go ahead and get rid of that. Yeah, so her kind of bone is going to go this way and go that way. So go ahead and use that on a different line. I think I'm going to use a different line for the face after all. I don't really know what I'm doing. I draw all the time, and I never know exactly what I'm going to end up doing every time I draw. It's just like, I don't know. I go in, I do stuff, I figure it out as I go. It's probably one of the reasons why my drawings end up actually being decent, is because I just never know exactly what to expect every time. It's always a case of, I'm going to go ahead and explore and see what I end up doing. I remember I was drawing a dragon one time, and I ended up drawing a cat instead. So you just never know with me. Also, that was supposed to be her ear, but like, I'm actually quite happy with the way that I went. Sometimes I don't even follow my own guidelines. So, yeah. So we'll end up doing a little bit of a perk here. And then we'll have her ears. I think I'm going to do more pointed out ears, kind of like Newman's from Phantasy Star Online. So they kind of go that way, and then kind of have a nice little curve here, and then do them downward. There we go. Yeah. That looks nice. Okay, and then we'll give it a little bit of a ring here. I did this on the hair layer, which I'm going to regret later, but that's fine. Because I'm sure if I change the hair, I'm going to have to change the ears anyways. There we go. That has a little bit of point to it. See, this is where my commentary is going to suck. It's just because, like, yeah. I think when I end up doing these art streams in the future, because, I mean, that's really what I'm going to be using this for. I'm kind of branding it as a broken chat box because I'm still trying to do the other stuff. But, like, realistically, I'm just trying to test out how I do with streaming while I'm drawing and stuff like that. Because a lot of times when I'm tired and stuff like that, I end up just drawing instead of really doing much else. That actually looks quite nice. Yeah, that'll look good. This is why I don't end up finishing anything either, because I just spend so much time just kind of messing around and just thinking like, oh, how is this going to look? Oh, this is going to look good, isn't it? And it's like, oh, yeah, it looks good. Okay, I'm going to just move on and do something else. And, yeah, I don't know. I think I like the concept of drawing more than actually drawing, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. What news? I don't know. Like, I ended up checking out a lot of the year-end videos and stuff like that, because a lot of people have them going on right now. And like I said earlier, I really like to see what people liked for recommendations and stuff like that. But like this year especially has been really boring to me. Like there's not a lot of games that came out that I actually gave anything about. It was like, there's some games that came out to where I'm like, yeah, you know what? Sure. I'd be for that if I had, you know, a lot of money and time to spare. That's fine. I don't. So, yeah, I didn't really play a lot of newer games. I mean, Mega Dimension Neptunia was one that I played. Doom is one that I played, which I'm really glad I played that one. What else did I play that came out this year? I can't even think of anything else that I played this year. The Tales of Zestiria came out this year on PC. I know it came out on console earlier than it did on PC, so I don't think that one came out this year. But I did play that one. Man, I really can't think of much. Not many games that I actually cared about came out this year. There was a lot of games that came out that were like in the big AAA stuff. Like there was the Watch Dogs 2, which was really popular. That's been on a few lists. Grand Theft Auto came out, or whatever, last year, I think. Yeah, that had to be last year, because I was in California when I first played that game. God, I really don't even know what came out. Like, when I made my list, I do this thing to where I don't actually pay attention to when things came out. Instead, I just look at what games I ended up enjoying that year, and games that I played for the first time that year. And so when I was looking at, you know, the kind of lists and everything like that, I was like, oh, that came out this year? I watched one from a YouTuber called Brutal Moose, who I have a lot of respect for because he makes some really interesting videos. But, like, his list was super lame. It was totally not exactly what I would like. Like, he likes weird games, I guess I could say. It's not really weird. It's just different. That's what my mom told me to say. And so basically he liked a lot of the sort of weird puzzle type games that came out this year, like The Witness and stuff like that, which I forgot that even came out this year, to be honest. I didn't really care for it, to be honest. It's a puzzle game where you explore around stuff, and so, my opinions did not match up with his. But at the same time, like, it wasn't even so much that his opinions didn't match as much as it was very bog standard. And most people's were. It was like, here's a list of games. I liked this one. Here's 2 basic reasons why. And there was some enthusiasm in some of them, but a lot of the videos ended up lacking the personality that I really liked from these people. And so I'm noticing in a lot of smaller YouTubers as well. Like, there's a lot of smaller channels and stuff like that I've been trying to kind of look at. And once again, it's just like, they have some enthusiasm, but at the same time, they don't like throw their personality into it. And I feel like they really should. And so with mine, I ended up kind of looking at it and being like, all right, you know what? I need to spend some time, kind of figure out why I like these games. For one, I needed to know exactly why I wanted to have those games on the list and nothing else. And then I had to think, all right, how do I make this interesting to a viewer? Why do I make them care? And so I kind of did like a whole mini review thing on all of the games. And I actually got a nice little comment that said, it's nice to see a top list of the year that isn't 95% exactly like the other ones, which that was the goal. So I guess I did well on that end. So that was quite pleasing. But everyone else's has been pretty, I don't know, just boring and bog standard. Total Biscuit does this whole arbitrary awards thing, which is always interesting because he talks more about like, why games deserve certain awards based off of different stuff like soundtrack and things like that, which I always found that concept to be really, really interesting, and I'd love to do something like that in the future. Like a whole rewards thing. I know lots of other YouTubers do it too. But like that one specifically was really, really interesting because he actually talks a lot in depth about exactly why he chose those games, which a lot of people, they talk about it, but at the same time, they don't really explain. Does that make sense? I'm going to use Brutal Moose as an example, and I apologize, dude. I know you're freaking awesome. You make great videos. But as an example, he was like, The Witness is hard to explain, and like, you explore and you do these puzzle things, and like, he explained the game, but he didn't really explain why it was on that list over anything else. So, yeah, and everyone seems to have that problem. It's a general problem with the format, I think. The expectation that you have to have, X amount of games on there, and like, you have to have, sort of tell people what the game is. And I don't necessarily feel like you have to. I feel like that's one of those situations where you can always be like, you know what? I like this game, and this is why, and then not even tell them what the game is. Maybe it's a game they already know. Like, let's say the 950 million people that did like stuff like Watch Dogs 2. You can be like, yeah, I liked Watch Dogs 2 because it's really fun. It does a lot of interesting things with the sort of format that Watch Dogs 1 did, except it did it amazingly better. It's like playing a hacker movie in a game. It's super cheesy and like everything like that. But, instead of doing that, they're like, it's an open world game. And you go around, you're a hacker, and you do stuff. And it's like, cool, why do you like the game? Because that's what I want to know. I don't know, my reviews are also like that as well. I do impressions reviews, and those things are kind of like a sort of, I guess, breaking the meta of what reviews always kind of were. Because reviews, at least for when I was growing up and stuff like that, and one of the reasons why I ended up making reviews in the first place was always because, like, reviews were just so either focused on the negatives or focused on the positives, and they never really explained why they thought what they did, more so than they explained very general terms and gameplay sort of mechanics. And so when I ended up doing my first review, I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk as much about the mechanics as I possibly can. And it ended up being a format that I absolutely love and adore. It's easily my favorite series that I end up doing on my own. It's quite fantastic. And I've found other YouTubers that end up doing it. I heard about Total Biscuit that does impressions reviews from actually people commenting that my videos were similar to his. So that was fun. But yeah, I ended up finding him through that. And I was like, oh yeah, he does this type of stuff too. That's super awesome. And then I end up finding like some small YouTubers and stuff like that that try to do the format and stuff like that. And yes, they may not be as good as, let's say, big guys and everything like that. But at the same time, they're trying to do stuff differently, which is appalling, I would say. I don't know what I'm talking about now. Talk about art, I guess. Go ahead and talk about kind of what I'm doing now. I'm just sort of screwing around with what I'm doing. So I'm kind of making nice little lines. I noticed I didn't make the eyes equal, but I generally don't. Eyes are hard. Doing eyes and making them equal and symmetrical is probably the most difficult thing in drawing, I would say, is trying to draw symmetry. You'll notice in a lot of especially stuff like anime, realistic drawings even, you'll notice things are not exactly as they should be quite often. You'll notice oh, hey, that person has an extra little line on the side, or maybe this character has, I don't know, an extra kind of maybe 5 pixels on something or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But it's the little details, and I always notice it in drawings and stuff like that. It's oh yeah, but this is off and stuff like that. And maybe that's why I don't finish my sketches very often, because I always notice them and I'm like, oh god. And that has got to be one of the hardest things for people to overcome, because when you first start drawing and stuff like that, and I mean, I'm not drawing fantastic, amazing stuff here. Sorry, I'm checking my timer. But when I end up kind of drawing and stuff like that, I focus too heavily on that negative stuff, I think. And so I kind of get in this situation to where it's oh man, it's not good enough. I can't show it to anybody. It's terrible. And then yeah. And for a lot of people that end up first kind of drawing, they draw something as this looks nothing like what I wanted it to. Why am I doing this? And then I think, oh no, it's just terrible. I should never draw or show it to anybody. I know my sister's having that problem. My first sister, not my youngest sister. My youngest sister is actually very artful. She likes to draw and color and stuff like that. And I hope she ends up keeping that stuff. There's actually a nice little thing that me and her ended up drawing. I drew a little berry. It was at their Christmas dinner. And so I was trying to be kind of thematic with that. I'm going to go ahead and make a shading layer because I love to shade eyes. I think shading eyes is beautiful. So we'll end up doing the lines and stuff like that. I'm going to hide this one. There we go. Hide the hair real quick. Anyways, eyes are fun. But we ended up drawing some stuff. And so one thing that I ended up drawing was a berry. And it was a berry with little leaves on it and stuff like that. I wonder if I have it in my sketches folder, documents, artwork. I don't. It's not in there. It might be in my temp folder, but I have stuff in there I can't show on stream, so I won't do that. But we ended up drawing these little berry things that I did fairly well. My sister has these really, really cool colored pencils that are multicolored and stuff like that, which I didn't even know existed. I was oh man, that's so cool. So I was playing around with those for a good hour. That was fun until everyone started to show up. And then I'm oh man, no more playing with that. And yeah, so that's how that went. But she ended up trying to copy me, and she actually did a pretty good job when it came down to it. It actually ended up turning out pretty good. So it doesn't look great, but it's pretty close. She's really good at copying things, which is something I'm terrible at. I can't copy things. I have to draw original stuff, or else I just don't do very well. It's one of the reasons why I like to change character outfits all the time, is because I don't want to try and draw the same outfit multiple times. I just want to just look at it and be you know what? That looks good. Let's try something different next time. It also adds a nice variety to characters as well. I need to get better at copying things, though, because there's a lot of situations where you get into a job and they're we need you to copy this dog in illustration form. And it's you know what? Yes, I can do that, but at the same time, it's not what I normally do. And so it takes a little bit of time to get to it. And yeah, they don't like you taking time, quite frankly, especially when they're paying you by the hour. They're yeah, I kind of don't want to pay you to sit here and chat on a live stream while you're shading eyes, which, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Sorry I'm taking so long to just finish this drawing. I'm just kind of slowly doing stuff. This is generally how I sketch. Now, I mean, if this was a commission or something like that, I'd probably be going a lot faster, because that's one of those cases to where you're I need to make this time count. But I'm not doing a commission drawing. So there you go. This is just something I'm doing on free time. I enjoy doing it. So there you go. I don't know. One thing that people have a lot of trouble with when they get into art, though, is, as I was saying, is that they look at their initial kind of drawings and they're like, "Oh, it's so terrible. How could anybody draw?" This eye's bigger than this one. I fucked that up. Anyways, they look at it and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is terrible. How could I ever improve?" And then they just never draw, which means that they don't get better because they're not drawing. Quite frankly, it's pretty simple. You end up drawing a lot more and you end up getting better. That's how it works. Nobody ends up being a professional artist right off the gate. And like even myself, I would say that, I've got a long way to go before I can consider myself a like true professional, non-low amateur kind of artist. I'm giving her sort of kitty mouth thing just so that I can do fang. There we go. That's popular. Yeah, that looks terrible. I don't know why I did that. Regardless, yeah, so a lot of people end up doing that sort of thing. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to start like coloring and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and make a color layer. Do that there. Let's go ahead and draw it. See, now this thing shows up. That didn't show up earlier. This is the Windows thing to where you can end up typing in. So if I end up going onto here, double tap there, I can be like clouds, which is actually super awesome. I love that. So color thing is called clouds. That's cool. One thing I end up doing with the drawings and stuff like that is I end up kind of using the color picker a lot, which I think a lot of people end up doing that. I'm not really sure. I make a larger sort of brush. I need to adjust this real quick. And then end up making my shape dynamics go all the way down to minimum. And then my sensitivity is screwing up again. And then I need to turn off opacity. There we go. And then I can kind of make shadows. Actually, I think I'm going to turn on opacity again because I'm doing this more painterly, so it'll actually look better if I do the opacity. I can go into my brushes, go into transfer, make my opacity jitter a little bit lower. Or wait, no, that's not jitter. I want this one. There we go. The minimum. There we go. Make it somewhere around 50%. And then that means the minimum color density that it will go will end up being that. Let's go ahead and make shape dynamics minimum dynamic around 40%, I think. Yeah, you can make a smaller brush. That's what I need to do. There we go. And then we can kind of shade around this area for her hair because her hair is purple. Yeah, I end up using the color picker to kind of do it. You can also do it in a way to where you use just black. I remember I did a few drawings with just black before. I don't think I have it in my archives. I can try and find it, but I don't think it's worth the time at this point. But yeah, I ended up using the color picker to kind of pick a color that is slightly darker and stuff like that. But you can end up using like black and just go with a multiply layer and stuff like that. So if I went to a new layer and just did, let's go ahead and swap that and go black. Let's just find a spot that I can actually make it so I can show what I'm talking about. So I'll do that and then do this and stuff like that just real quick so I can show you guys. And then you end up going in and you're like, all right, well, that's where I want to shade stuff. Double tap, go down to blending options, go normal, and multiply, and go to about 30, 20%, somewhere around there. And you'll end up getting about the same color. Now, the negative to doing that is that you don't get this nice painterly look, which is what I'm always going for, to be honest. I really like painterly stuff. And so when I end up doing these types of stuff, I always try and go painterly. I know a lot of the stuff that I've released in the past ended up being more vectorized and things like that. And that's mostly because I spent a lot of time learning to work with color. I don't want to say I was color blind, but I didn't work with a lot of color as a kid because I always drew with pencils. I mean, I wasn't one of those kids that had not like nice fancy pencils or anything like that. I always had like just cheap number 2 pencils. And so I learned how to draw with those, which kind of screwed me over in some cases because there's so much more to drawing than that. There was just an incredible amount that you can have control over when you end up having multiple colors. You have, different types of pens and things like that. I learned about that when I was in high school. I learned about different types of pens, and I was like, oh my God, like I could just use this type of pen to do these types of lines, and then this type of pen to do this type of line, and it ends up actually looking a hell of a lot better. And yeah, it's just, there's so much to drawing, so many things that you would think you wouldn't understand when you kind of like look at it from the outside. You're like, oh man, how could they ever do that type of stuff? But then when you actually start doing it, you're like, no, I get it. It's just one of those things. You just got to do it. A lot of people try and do art and they just don't do it. And that's what you got to do. You got to just do it. So yeah, if you ever thought like, hey, I want to start drawing, just do it. Start drawing. Eventually you'll get better. Don't expect yourself to become the next Picasso, but at the same time, you can at least expect something. And one thing about art is that no matter what you do, it's going to be you, as long as you make it you. Don't plagiarize or anything like that. But one of the great things about art is that everyone has their own unique mindset. They have their own unique skills, and they have their own unique experiences. You can take those experiences and turn them into art. You can just be like, yeah, I remember this moment as a kid, and I want to impersonate it into a flower. And so you can end up taking a flower and then, making your art status about that. Also, I didn't make a palette for this drawing. I should probably do that. Normally what I do is I have off to the side, I have a sort of nice little color palette. So I'll be like, that's the color that I want for shadows. And then I'll have ones like, this is the color for normal. Get my eye color here. So I'll have that. There we go. And that's just so that I can keep colors consistent and make sure that my brushes are similar. I always kind of set up my brushes the same way. There's some artists that ended up adding like textures and stuff to their brushes. And so they'll be like, hey, I'm going to add, this paintbrush stuff like that. I've tried that. And while it's fun, I'm on the wrong layer. Of course I am. Go ahead and erase that. There we go. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that ended up doing textures and stuff like that on their brushes, and some artists even say like, I'd never draw and paint without texture. And like, well, I could see that to some extent. There's also kind of something to say about keeping the default brushes. Is number one, you're able to work quicker most of the time, and number two, there's still the whole case of I want to try and make it look digital, maybe, or maybe there's some kind of painting effects that you wouldn't get. Like it's pretty obvious when somebody sketched something in Photoshop. When you're looking at artwork, you can be like, oh yeah, there's very round edges and everything like that to everything. And, that's obviously going to be like from Photoshop or something like that. But then you get into some other stuff and you're like, whoa, that looks crazy. And, you realize like, oh, that was just made with the default brushes. Like there was nothing added to that. And I think that those are the types of pieces to where it's like, you know what, that's really what I want to see. I don't know. I'm just talking now. I don't know what else to say. I don't have any idea or any clue what's going on in the news right now. Quite honestly, I have absolutely no clue. I know there's a lot of games coming out next year, but there's not really many I'm excited for. I know I'm excited for the Tales of Berseria, although I'm not really enjoying Tales of Zestiria all too much. Like I'm trying to get into it now, and I'm enjoying it for as much as I'm going to enjoy it, I think. And it's alright, but I really want a different game. Different Tales game. Because I love the Tales series. The Tales series is probably one of my favorite JRPG series of all time. But at the same time, that one's not particularly amazing, which is unfortunate. So, yeah. It'll probably get better. I'm sure it will. I just haven't played it enough, probably. That's probably where it's going to end up lying down. So now I can go into my color stuff and end up turning off my opacity layer. There we go. It actually worked this time. And then just kind of clean up the edges. Stuff like that. Boom, boom. Go over that. So, what else going to talk about? I don't really know. I'm kind of bored now, actually. Gotta be 100% honest. I kind of want to go back and play Ori and the Blind Forest. So I'll be doing that after this stream. I don't have any like New Year's plans or anything like that. Oh yeah, Happy New Year's. I don't think I ever actually said that. Yeah, Happy New Year's. That's a thing. There's also music playing in my background that you guys can't hear, or hopefully you can't. I don't really know. If you can, well, copyright strike. But otherwise, yeah. So I'm kind of like listening to the music and just kind of zoning out. That's too bright. Let's go a little bit darker. Yeah, we'll do that. That'll work. I really don't know what to talk about today. I mean, I probably should have played a game because then I would have, stuff to comment on. Call this skin. Trying and stuff like that. The more you use this thing, the better it gets. So one of the things that's really, really cool about the ink is that, oh, God damn it, my touch sensitivity keeps going haywire, which is very, very annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down there. And it would be around the eyes. I could make the whites for the eyes as well. Yeah, you can see right there, they're not even. That just bothers me. That's one thing about sketching that I just will never get over, is just how much precision I don't have, if that makes sense. It's just like I want everything to be perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. Also, I realized that this entire stream I've just been doing the head, basically. So let's go ahead and do some clothing stuff while I close this out. I mean, I'm out of topics now. I'm almost out of time as well. I can spend a lot of time talking about absolutely nothing. Quite proficient at that. So if you're interested in how this drawing ends up turning out in the end, it'll be up on my DeviantArt, and I'll probably post it on my Tumblr, which I actually started a Tumblr blog. I can talk about that for a minute. Yeah, I started a Tumblr blog not to be a Tumblr person, but because a lot of people... God damn it, I forgot I have my other setup going on. Let's go ahead and turn that on. Let's go... Turn that back up to 60. Go to transfer. Yeah, that's the way I want it. I don't know why that reset. It's probably because I clicked that off and on. Then we'll make it smaller. There we go. Actually, let's go ahead and go to opacity and make it about 50%. But yeah, I started a Tumblr blog because everyone's like, yeah, they're actually pretty good for art. Back when I was in college, I had a few friends who were using... God damn it, my touch sensitivity is going haywire again. Stop moving the damn image. Go, but God damn it. Hold on a second. Yes, it's straight. Okay, cool. Anyways, yeah, I had a few friends in college who were using Tumblr. Most of them don't now, but they were using it for these sort of art stuff. I had a friend who was very much posting his stuff onto DeviantArt, and he has some really cool artwork. His name is Jesse Thomas. Good luck finding him because he has like the most generic name of all time. But he had a lot of cool artwork that he would post on DeviantArt, and he actually is the person that talked me into making one because he noticed some of my sketches that I was working on, and he noticed that I deleted them. And so he's like, dude, don't do that. And so he showed me DeviantArt. He's like, post them here. Nobody gives a shit if it's terrible. And so that's how I started posting work to DeviantArt. Kind of an interesting little tale there. Yeah, I mean, I like DeviantArt and stuff like that. It has a lot of questionable works, though, I've got to say. I remember back when I was in college, the pony stuff was very, very popular. And actually, one of my peers was very much into the pony stuff, which was a bit creepy, I've got to say. I'm not a big fan of the MLP stuff. But she drew a lot of it. She actually did some really cool fan art of it as well. She was one of those people that I think over time, she ended up getting better and better at drawing, and she kind of noticed that, and she started to be ashamed of her old work because the more she did, the less she showed, which was kind of strange. I mean, I was kind of the same way as well, to where it was like, the more I did, the more I realized like all my old stuff was terrible. It's kind of like that situation to where you go from high school to college and you're like, yeah, high school, I was a badass and everything like that. And then you go to college and you're like, I wasn't cool. Like, you were not cool at all. So I'm kind of changing up the clothing, I think. I'm going to end up doing this nice little curvature into the cleavage. And then that'll end up covering that side. So it's kind of like one of those Chinese dresses. So if I can draw a little sample here. Go into my brush. So you know those Chinese dresses, you got the neck seam here to where they got the head. And then it has like that strap that goes over. And then you get the cleavage here or whatever. We're gonna do one of those. Yeah, except this girl has a sleeve here and everything like that. So it's not exactly perfect, but that's what I'm talking about. What? Oh crap! What layer was I using? Problems with using multiple layers and not naming them because you're streaming and being boring. Yeah, I mean, I'm really out of things to say. I mean, I'm super tired. I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning this morning. I had errands to run. I had a migraine out the ace. It was obnoxious to deal with. And yeah, basically, I haven't had the best of days. Now my shoulder's starting to hurt from this sort of spreading out like a spider. So I'm probably gonna be done here in a few minutes. But yeah, so I'm kind of out of things to say. My day was kind of long, tired. I'm probably going to stay up because it is New Year's. I kind of wanted to do an entire New Year's stream. To be perfectly honest, I wanted to be like, oh, I'm going to be up all night and everything like that, but I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't think I can. But after this goes up, I might end up streaming some Ori and the Blind Forest because I am enjoying the living hell out of that game. And I would love to show it to everyone. So that's a thing. And this looks like terrible fan art, but that's okay. But yeah, like I said, if you're interested in how this ends up turning out, you can check it out on my DeviantArt when it comes out. I might make another stream or something like that. Like, I might come back to this sort of thing on streams. I still don't know how I'm doing my art streams. All I know is that I want to do them. So I'm going to be doing them eventually. That's really all I got. I think I'm done here, though. I don't know. Nobody's here for New Year's, so hopefully everyone has a happy New Year. Hopefully this video was entertaining. It was me drawing a head for 90% of the time. Also, I need to extend the shoulders because the head is huge. But that's how it goes. All right, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end this here because I'm out of things to say and I'm exhausted. So, yeah, hopefully this is interesting. Hopefully I can end up coming back to this. I'm going to go ahead and do my closing comments. Thank you guys so much for watching the Broken Chatbox. Make sure to join us next week at the same time and everything like that. Yeah, I'm so tired. I can't even think of an outro. I'm Michael. I do this whole shebang pretty much solo nowadays. Apparently nobody else wants to join me. And if you'd like to see more of this type of stuff, you can always check out my channel where the archive goes up. Normally, I'm playing a game in the background, so if you're watching this one as your first podcast thingy, and you're just watching it for me drawing cleavage, then, yeah, this isn't normally what I do. Normally, we play a game, so next week we'll be back to probably Sonic Adventure 2, unless I get somebody to actually join me, and then we'll play a co-op game or something like that. I might start something like Ori and the Blind Forest, or something like that, because I'm kind of getting bored of Sonic Adventure 2. I've finished that game so many times, it's hard to come back to. But on my channel, I also do, you can find it at the little icon thing. You can actually see it on the screen, I believe, on the stream, hopefully. Michael P. Stanage on the YouTube, and you can also find me on Twitter. But on the YouTube stuff, I also do impressions reviews and topic videos, and yeah, I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'm just rambling now. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time. Hopefully I remember my shortcut.